What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View podcast. On today's episode, I'm so grateful that he has taken the time out of his busy schedule to join us. If you're in Atlanta, if you're in Augusta, if you're in the Georgia, independent wrestling scene, you already know the man that's on your screen right now. Skrilla the Great, thank you so much for coming on tonight, brother. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing, man?
Can't complain, right? Nobody wants
That's
to
right.
hear it.
That's right.
I know you're a busy man, so we're just going to jump right into it.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
When did you first, kind of fall in love with professional wrestling?
Woo. I think I was like 4 when I seen a little bit of it, but I fell in love when I was like 8.
Right.
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was WCW at that time, and Macho Man was just cutting one of those larger than life promos. And I was just like, man, what is this? So he kind of tied me in right there. And this is when they were doing the whole Macho Man, Luger, and Sting story, getting ready to set up for the NWO, and
right. Yep.
just the compelling stories they were telling at that point. It was just like, along with the Legion of Doom and the Four Horsemen, the way they were just like putting it all together, but not really, it was really good for an 8-year-old trying to figure out wrestling, like I'm just like, my eyes were just glued though,
Yeah, absolutely. That's like peak WCW.
Yeah.
And that was my next question. Obviously, you're a Georgia boy,
Absolutely.
born and bred. So obviously you were more of a WCW guy. What was your relationship with WWF TV at that time? Were you watching it at all? Or was it like just mainly WCW?
So like when I was 4, I believe it was WWF at that point. And I didn't really get into it. I played the video game. I think it was Royal Rumble at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew of the guys, but I just wasn't into it quite yet. Once the NWO kind of started, like, I wouldn't say like fizzling out, but like once they were into where Sting wasn't on TV as much, because that was my guy,
right?
I started flipping over,
Yeah.
It was, and then, Stone Cold at that point was the guy, Bret Hart, Triple H.
Yeah.
The Undertaker. I mean, I had a love for Sid Vicious at that point. Like it was, and he got a lot of criticism, but he was one of my guys though. And Ahmed Johnson Goldust, like that was a time to really be paying attention to that stuff too. So it was just really cool. Nowadays we got the streaming sites, but back then we were flipping back and forth. You know what I mean?
That's it. It.
Or recording one and watching the other.
Yep, these young bucks, they don't understand, man. Me and you were about the same age. They don't know that trouble. And if you lost the remote, ooh, buddy,
you're in trouble. Or if
you better hope you got a little brother.
Yep. I was about to say, if you didn't record that night, it's been a couple nights where I'd be like, man, I forgot to press record, or
it.
Or I didn't have enough tape to record or something, or I recorded over something that I already liked. Like it was just.
Or you set the volume too low on the TV, so when you watch it back, you can't hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
These kids, they don't understand, man. We dating ourselves, but these kids don't understand.
Man, hey, shout out to my grandma, man. I remember, like it used to get late, so she had me going to bed at like 9.
Yeah.
She'd always be like, TV off, lights out, and I'd sneak and turn the TV on. You know what I'm saying? So then my stupid self as a young kid, like, how she knew I was watching? Because she'd tell me in the morning, she'd be like, I knew you was watching that. I was like, how'd she know? You idiot. You can see up under you can see the light flickering up under the door, silly. What a time to be alive, though.
Telling you, man. I'm telling you. So obviously you were a fan all throughout the 90s. Like I said, me and you are about the same age, so you're kind of that new generation attitude era, kind of kid like I am.
Yeah.
When did wrestling take that turn for you where you're like, I love watching this, I'm such a fan, I enjoy it, to I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do with my life.
Man, shout out to my grandma again. It was, I want to be accurate, so I think it was like 11 or 12. And I was just, I was in it. This is like 2000, 2001. Like, this is where, like, WWF is at its peak,
Yeah.
And I'm just oozing the rock when I walk through the doors. Every time I walk through the door, or I'm stone cold in it with my grape sodas and all that. So I was like, you know what? Me and my homeboys watch all this stuff. We're gonna go out in the backyard and do it. So that's when I was like that. I made that decision very early. And that's funny, which I know we'll probably eventually go into that movie, but I remember when I was on the set with Mick Foley and I was like, man, I almost got a big whooping because of you. And he was like, why? I was like, because I jumped off my house. And the next door neighbor told on me, you know. So
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah, I made that decision at 12. I did fall off of it, but life kind of gave me that opportunity around 25, and it was the backyard again. I was like, hey, I've been here before, so let's really get it done this time, though.
And you alluded to it just now. You can go into it being on set with Mick Foley and stuff like that. Can you tell everybody, how that whole situation came about?
Well, at the end of the day, I wouldn't have been in that movie if I didn't backyard wrestle.
Right.
Um, because the guy that hit us up, he said we could have got all these professionals, but we really wanted like the nitty gritty, raw and uncut wrestling because this
Right.
is what that scene is. So we want it to feel very organic. We don't want it to be pretty or none of that.
Right.
So they was like we were looking for the best Georgia backyard wrestling that we could find, and we found you guys. And I mean, I know the movie was based in North Carolina, but they did a lot of filming in Savannah. Um, and we were just like, okay, some low budget movie. All right, cool, let's do it.
Right.
And then the guys that were on it, they sent us the cast, and we were like, wait a minute. Shia LaBeouf, Dakota Johnson, Mick
Right.
Foley, Jake the Snake. Well, we're
Yeah, it
into
was.
something now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're just like, okay, are we just going to be there? Because the first 3 days we were just on the set and
Right.
just
Right.
in the crowd.
Hurry up and wait. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My boy Tony James, shout out to Tony James. He was like the top guy for the backyard promotion. He actually was on the cast because he was supposed to wrestle Jake the Snake.
Hmm.
And Jake was supposed to have two matches. He was supposed to squash my boy, and then he was supposed to face Zach. However, Jake had the surgery on, I think it was his back. Yeah, it was on
Yeah.
his
I think
back.
you had a fusion. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on his back, right? So when they were not to pull the cover back, but they were putting him on that harness for Zach to throw him, and it was really tearing up his back. And that's crazy because Mick Foley had just had his hip surgery prior to that too.
Right.
But he couldn't really take doing anything else after that. So
Right.
the wrestling gods were just like, all right, here's your chance. You guys been trying to figure it out for 3 days. Like the
Yeah.
fourth day is the one. So they audibled and they asked my boy Tony. He was like, if you could have one of the best matches that you could offer for us, who would you wrestle? And he was like Skrilla. So I'm in the group with the guys because we're on break they're trying to figure it out. And dude's just beelining and like staring at me. He's like, you come here. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, what's going on? He's like, I don't know what you do, your little ritual before your matches, but you need to get together because you're about to wrestle. I was like, oh, okay, okay. And then Tony looks at me. He's like, I know we've done a couple things. Let's just do some stuff we did and, that we feel comfortable doing because we've done it before. So we're just kind of pulling sequences from matches that we've had. And
Yeah.
just because we was like, hey, well, we know we can do this to the best of our abilities. But mostly they wanted strikes and that worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my experience, and I mean, I dare say that was one of the my greatest moments ever.
Yeah, and the Peanut Butter Falcon, guys, is the movie that we're talking about. I
Hmm.
just realized we
Yeah,
didn't
we
even
never said it right.
intro it, but yeah, the Peanut Butter Falcon, like Skrilla said, Shia LaBeouf,
Yeah,
Dakota Johnson,
yeah,
a who's who,
yeah,
you know, that is pretty freaking awesome, though, man.
absolutely.
So where did you train? I know you said you did the backyard thing for a little while, but did you like formally train anywhere?
Yeah, I eventually met a guy named Michael Stevens. He does a lot of extra work for WWE, and then he introduced me to Fred Yehi, if you know who Fred Yehi is.
Mm-hmm.
And then he introduced me to this wrestling school called Platinum Championship Wrestling that's in Georgia. And after that, I just kind of moved around. I went to AR Fox. I went to Rocky King. I went to Micah Taylor. And in my recent days, I was with Jimmy Wang Yang for a little bit of time, but most importantly, Nick Patrick kind of took me up under his wing, and he really showed me the ropes.
That's some names to work under, so you're
Yeah,
definitely in the right direction.
absolutely, absolutely.
You haven't made it down there to the Nightmare Factory just yet, huh?
I have actually, I have, but it
Okay.
but it wasn't the Nightmare Factory. It was, I forgot what QT was calling it then. They hadn't came together yet.
Right, right, right,
But I have done some work with QT Marshall as well. But he got the calls. Things kind of changed with that, and I just kind
right,
of went my different way. So it's not that I've never tried. The opportunity just hasn't, it just hadn't got there, per
right.
se, if you will. So you
Not
never know.
yet.
You
Not
never
yet.
know.
Yeah,
You never know.
absolutely. Absolutely. So you're not here I just said this in another interview I did earlier today. Till you're not here anymore, it's always not yet. It's not a no, it's just not yet.
There you go. There you go. Well said. Well, you said. And
So
and the crazy part is, like, I got to give a shout out to QT. Like, he doesn't teach like how guys want it to be taught.
yeah.
He's more of a tough love kind of guy. But
That's
when
one way to put it, yeah.
like he is, but when I was trying to get in there, he was like, you don't need it. Like, and
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I just was like, I don't know if I should be proud of that, or
Be offended by that, yeah.
because I just wanted I like to put experiences under my resume, so
Yeah, absolutely.
that was
Absolutely.
more of what I wanted it for.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about something that is just I would say the polar opposite of the Nightmare Factory or anything they teach you there
Mm-hmm.
or any of them schools.
Mm-hmm.
In my research, I wasn't as familiar with Skrilla as I needed to be. And I saw that you have a tendency to do some of these ultra violent or these deathmatch style matches.
Yeah.
What is it that is obviously that's a niche within a niche.
Right.
It's a very specific
Yeah.
type of wrestling.
Absolutely.
What is it? And not to say that I don't enjoy it, because I do enjoy that style of wrestling as well. What is it about, that particular style of wrestling that you find appealing?
Let me answer this the right way. So it was different from being a kid doing backyard wrestling to coming to their platform, because that's what those guys were doing.
Right.
And at first I told them, hell no.
Like any sane man would.
Yeah, absolutely. But then something struck me real hard one day. It just hit me, and I was just like, this might be your chance to get into wrestling. I mean, just use this as your way to get into it,
Right.
And I really had to, I had to grab my male parts and really get it together because I mean, those guys were swinging light tubes, barbed wire wrap chairs, you name it. They had it out there,
Yeah.
So I really had to make a decision, and I was like, you know what? This is something that I think I think we're artists too,
Yeah.
because it is an art. I think
100% agreed.
I
Yes.
think some of us as professional wrestling artists, I think we forget the part of just having fun, and
Yeah.
that was my thought process, because I mean, what else can I do? I don't know if this is going to help me get there or not, but here's a shot. Let's just have
Right.
fun. And then I found the beauty in it. I was like, man, this is different. It's not choreographed. This is how you feel, and everything feels organic.
Yeah.
You give a little
Absolutely.
some, they give a little some. You beat each other up, and then we figure out what the finish is. And
Right.
you lick your wounds, and you get out there and do it again.
Absolutely. And like I said, I don't mean to purvey any disrespect or anything like that, because I've watched you. I got the chance to watch you in Augusta, last weekend
Mm-hmm.
in a very technical,
Mm-hmm.
three-way match.
Absolutely.
Where you guys are headlocks and drop downs
Mm-hmm.
and leapfrogs. And then
Mm-hmm.
I look on YouTube, I'm like, oh damn,
Mm-hmm.
Skrilla's over here with like a bundle of light tubes.
Absolutely.
And let me ask you this, because it's always been very interesting to me, people that choose to do that deathmatch style, because I mean, you got to be a little crazy to do it.
Yeah, no doubt.
What is the difference? For instance, what's the difference in your mindset, or what's going through your head before you walked out of that curtain last week in Augusta, where you're about to have this very normal, very traditional three-way match, as opposed to what you're thinking before you walk out to a ring full of barbed wire, steel chairs, and light tubes?
Well,
Or is there a difference?
there is, because to me, the backyard wrestling is more of gladiator style. Yes, we know what's going to happen, who's going to win, but you're going to have to fight your way for real to get to that, And,
Yeah,
like, it's not an easy task. There was a lot of guys that have been doing that for a long time, so they know how to really, swing light tubes or
yeah,
hit you with a stop sign a certain way to slow you down. And, it was more so of how long can you go and how long can you take a beating from me until you're ready to tap out.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, you're playing to win, but what if I beat you up to where you're like, I can't go no more and I just pin you? So it was really gladiator style.
yeah,
Versus uh, everything. Like, okay, the crowd, I have to engage with the crowd. Okay, I have to make sure that I look good engaging with the crowd. Okay, I
right.
have to engage with the crowd, look good, and then make sure that I remember everything that I'm doing, and make sure that my opponent is with me. And it's so much because we're actors, we're dance partners. We got so many descriptions up under this thing that we call wrestling. So it's really not as easy as it was in the backyard. I mean, I knew what I was going into at that versus I never know because most of the time my opponent is different.
Right. Right. And I'm going to ask you just the most Marcus question ever. If you had a gun to your head, you had to pick one with your deathmatch, background and in that style of wrestling, what sucked the most? What object can you think of, or what bump did you take, whether it be like a barbed wire bump or something like that? What sucked the absolute most that maybe you took and you're like, I really don't ever want to do that again?
The push thumbtacks, not the actual ones, the ones that are like extended with the like
Yeah.
the clear, what I mean, the push pin thumbtacks.
I know
Those
exactly what you
are
mean.
terrible. And then going through a table, so now you have to like sit there and take the thumbtacks while getting pinned, like that's the worst. But a close second is definitely the light tubes
These
from.
little
Yes,
fellas.
those. Oh my god. Oh, you just brought back memories. No, 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 no. And those sick, crazy idiots that I used to wrestle with, they used to always want to push the envelope, and I didn't want to show I had lady parts, so I had to go out there and do it.
Was there ever something they proposed that you've seen them do that you're just like, nah, bro, that's not for me? Is there any bump that's been too crazy that you're
The
just
fla-
like, no,
the flaming tables, but they always was like, all right, well, you just put me through it, and I'm like, okay,
bet?
yeah, with pleasure, bro. I got you.
That is why.
But I wouldn't back then. I wasn't like I was timid for certain things, but now I'd probably do it.
Yeah, yeah. As long as the story presents itself, right?
Absolutely. I'm not doing it for chump change or it doesn't make sense.
I know that's right.
For real. I've had my days
So
of doing it for free, so I'm good.
yeah, you're done. You're done being the star. What did I'm trying to think of Kevin Nash's thing. He's tired of doing the starving artist gimmick. Now let's do
Absolutely.
the rich millionaire gimmick.
Absolutely.
Well, with that in mind, like, who are some of your favorite people? Not on the deathmatch scenes, but like, who are some of your favorite competitors nowadays to work with? I know you were in there with Trevor last weekend.
Yeah.
I know you work with him a lot, but
He's one of
who are
them.
some of your who are some of your favorite guys to step in the ring with?
Man, Fred Yehi was one of them. He pushed me to the limit because he had high school experience on top of the backyard experience, on top of the professional experience. He had it all. So
Right,
he's pushing you through all of it. And we had some crazy matches in the yard. AR Fox was very fun. That was one of my first tests of like, okay, this is what professional wrestling feels like,
right.
because he's a high flyer. So I didn't know how to really train for that. But I did. I took my Skrilla the Great King of Controversy approach and just, like I told you on Saturday, I just kind of took the Rocky approach. I let them give me everything and then I put in what I can put in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you can learn a lot from that theory, but hey, don't take my theories. I've only wrestled him once, but Lexus King was very very fun. very life changing. I think we both learned a lot from each other.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see him getting a title shot coming up. And he's really doing his thing. And shout out to him.
Yeah, I'm
I want
glad
my
you brought
rematch
him
though.
I'm glad you brought him up because he was that was my next question
Wow.
was about that match you had, with Lexus King. I mean, that had to be pretty cool. It's not every day that WWE loans talent out. So that had to be pretty cool. Did that feel different to be working with a not like a, oh, he just got released, now he's back on the indies type of thing, but like you're in the ring with a current WWE talent. Did it feel different being in the ring with him, or was it just, another match?
You talk about Saturday. that that match had my mental state at an all time high. I didn't sleep much. It was a lot going on because before that, Jimmy Wayne was like, "Yeah, they don't do this normally, so don't hurt
Yeah.
him." I'm
Yeah.
like, "You're
Yeah, there's a
talking to
lot
me
of
like,"
pressure.
but that's what he was saying. I was like, "You act like I wrestle, riskily, But he was just like, "No, your nerves are gonna be through the roof,
Right.
and so
Right.
be careful." And these old school guys don't tell you exactly what they mean by it. They want you to go in there and figure it out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was life changing. Shout out to Road Dogg because he's the one that approved it. So, and I had been under the Armstrong learning tree for like a year and a half, maybe, with him and Scott. So, I was learning a lot for those guys, and it was really cool to for him to just see my hard work and
And
be like,
trust
yeah,
you.
and yeah, and
Yeah.
trust me.
Yeah.
And he had been coming to Deep South, just to see what was going on, and the Booker didn't know that I knew him. I was like, yeah, I have been with him, for almost a year, just coming in and out of main event, so it was really cool to just see it. And I felt accepted as a professional wrestler because I'm going against a signed professional wrestler.
Right. Absolutely.
And yeah, it's really cool, and I'm very happy with that match. He had to
Yeah,
take a
I'm gonna link that match in the top of the video right here. So whoever's watching this, you guys will be able to click up here and watch that match because it's actually on YouTube.
yeah, and a lot of guys, and a lot of my fans were like, they were kind of bummed that I lost, but I'm very happy because he had to take a shortcut to beat me.
Yeah.
What he's the professional wrestler, and I'm the guy on the indies. You know, what'd that tell you?
That's right. Just got to get that rematch book. That's all.
Absolutely. I seen he's got a shiny new trophy right now.
Hey, you never know who could show up on NXT either, too, right? I mean,
I mean,
maybe the rematch isn't that deep.
and that's what I meant to say as well too. It was like it was really cool because 2 days after that, that's when they started the WWID program, and I was like, wow, like they were testing it out. I was kind of down in the dumps because I wasn't one of those one of the guys that got ID, but I was just like, well, maybe I don't need the ID. Maybe I'm VIP.
And that was one of my last wrestling questions I wanted to ask you. Is that WWE ID? Is that something you're striving for right now?
I'm yes and no. Yes, because I mean that obviously that's the ultimate dream, right? But I'm also okay with being in my lane. I know that I can keep up with those guys. They've allowed me to show that. So wherever the road may take me, whether I go to Japan, whether I go to AEW, MLW, TNA, it doesn't matter. Or if I stay on the Indies, that they just come to me. I'm cool with my lane right now. I'm really cool with it.
No, that's definitely something I think that's in play though. I don't want you to sell yourself short for sure.
Well, I don't think that is that. I just feel like how Matt Cardona said. He's just like the world of wrestling is huge now, so it's like you shouldn't get down in the dumps if you don't get signed because the guys are
Yes,
coming down now, and
absolutely.
who would have thought WWE would allow that to happen. So it's like
Very true.
for
Very
me
true. I mean, look,
that was so monumental for me because I'm like, wow, like they don't do this. They
right.
don't bring their guys out to it. It has to be like a legit main attraction. Like, back in those
Absolutely.
days when they did it, it was like Eddie Guerrero going to see CM Punk, but that's because they're trying to get him there, like so
Right.
that was my
Right.
thoughts too. It's like maybe, maybe I do have a chance. You just never know. But, I'm going to enjoy where I am now, because if you don't, then, it'll stop your growth, So
And that's a beautiful mindset for
hmm
sure. I mean, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, you're still a professional wrestler. You're still doing what you love to do, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is where I pivot, Skrilla, to the questions that I think most of my viewers really enjoy the most, because this is where I really get to know the person behind the gimmick, the person
Right.
outside of the ring. This is the Fans View podcast. So, I mean, I have to ask you, what are you a fan of? Like, what do you enjoy doing outside of the ring? Like, what do you like watching? What do you like doing? What are your hobbies?
Well, I'm definitely a movie guy. Definitely a movie guy. I love movies. I play video games here and there. Me and my roommates are always tearing it up. I mean, I wish I had a better answer. Gym and a lot of wrestling. Gym and a
Hey,
lot of wrestling is my life other than working. And I mean, I talk to them about wrestling all the time because they all know I wrestle. So it's like
yeah,
I'm never away from it, and I'm grateful because this is the life I chose, and I'm really just grateful. I'm going into my 11th year, like that, and it's just wild to me. 11 years, including the backyard, like just it's
yeah,
just wild to me that I even made it this far, considering everything that I went through.
absolutely.
And I've had a lot of life changing situations. I've lost friends. I lost my best friend, and our dream was to, one day he'd be my manager at WWE, and that never happened. But I know he's still managing me still.
That's right.
It's really
That's
cool
right.
to continue my journey to making our dream come true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, my last question, and this doesn't have to be wrestling related. It can really be just open ended. At this point in your life, at this point in your wrestling career, what does success mean to you? Like, what does that term mean to you when you think about success?
Well, when I think about it, it's finding the gratitude to know that I'm privileged to do something that I love to do. That's success to me. I
I
think a
love
lot of
it.
guys think it's the fame and fortune, but it's like it can all be ended and like just like that, It could take
Yep.
one fall that'll end that. It could take one car accident that'll end my career. So
Yep.
success is being grateful of the path that you have to do what you love.
That's an excellent answer. I love that. Man, I want to thank you so much. Before I let you go, though, do you have any dates coming up? And what are your social handles so people can get at you on social media?
Man, I think on every social media that I have, you just put in Skrilla the Great and I'll pop up. I do have March the 9th will be Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. And then we have, let me rewind. March the 1st, I'll be at Lariato Pro. And March 29th, we'll be back in Augusta for Next
Yes,
Level.
sir.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
Yes,
I'll be
sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
Well, Skrilla, like I said, brother, I know you're a busy man. You took time out of your night to come talk to us,
Yes, sir.
and hopefully you'll be a repeat guest on here, man. You
Let's
already
do it.
this is your second appearance. We got to
Let's
get a
do it.
third, a fourth. We gonna start doing this monthly.
Look, so once I dare say once I get the contracts in hand, I'll sign off on your podcast.
There
Just
we
because I
go.
like.
See now we're talking, brother. Now
Yeah,
we're
bro.
talking.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's
Hey,
do it.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
No problem, man.
Guys,
Love.
make sure you go show Skrilla some love. If you're in the Augusta, Atlanta, if you're in the Georgia area, go check him out. If not, go hit him up on social media. He replies. But until next time, guys, thank you so much. And don't forget, call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.